Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 8th day of December, 2022. Well, I hope everybody's having a good week. We still have snow, and evidently there's a snow advisory today, probably through Monday, but there'll be a second one that happens, I think, Friday night or Saturday. We're not sure what that one's going to look like, but depending on where you are, I don't think it will happen here, but some people could get as much as a foot. So I don't think that's going to happen down here, though, but I do expect that we'll get probably 3 or 4 inches. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So winter's here. We have the winter solstice coming up on the 21st in Yule. And so my husband is waiting with bated breath for the light time to start increasing. So I think we're probably going to start our tomato seeds and pepper seeds probably a little earlier this time. Not as early as we did year before last, but because that was just nuts. But this time, I mean, we didn't hardly get any tomatoes, so. We got a few, but not much to really can or freeze or anything. So, or dry. We didn't. It just didn't. The season was not. It didn't get started at the right time, and we had really weird weather and stuff. So I don't know. So he's hinting for me to get everything out of the tent where we start our seedlings, and because I've still got dried stuff in there. I just need to finish up so he can start getting the lights in there and getting them ready, and because he wants to be prepared. So anyway, I don't know, tomatoes and peppers are his thing, so he loves growing them. We save our seeds and he grows them from the seed we save, and it's a lot of fun. So we just have to stop growing as much. We don't need as much as what we typically have, because for 2 people I don't need a dozen tomato plants. I really don't. So anyway, so that's what's going on in our house. Trying to we've got to go out and about today before the snow hits again, and so we'll be doing that as well. So I hope everybody's doing well. I hope that you're staying warm if you're in cold areas, and because right now it's pretty cold at night. So anyway, I went ahead and I for next week, instead of doing a separate daily forecast, I went ahead and combined that with the other one that I'm doing, and so it'll just be the one instead of 2. Well, and then I was doing it every single day. So anyway, I don't know what that's going to look like on Monday when I talk about this stuff, but we'll see how that goes. But for today, for Thursday, let's go over the esoteric influences for today. It's the 8th of December, so you're looking at an 8 numerology for the day itself: leadership, talent, material recognition, and approval. Ansu's, which is Odin's rune, considered Odin's rune in the Elder Futhark, is the rune that I used for today. Fortuna Major is the Geomancy rune. That's greater fortune. Ansu's is divinity and clarity and eloquence and spiritual communication. And today is the crone phase of the full moon, so I hope you got to see it last night. I took pictures of both maiden and mother, and they're pretty cool pictures, so look for those to come out on the blog on top of different posts I do. So anyhow, your wisdom and leadership may be called on today to help a new endeavor succeed. Your intuition and sharp instincts can help nurture the ideas of others in the group and set an example for others to follow. A selfless attitude allows you to act without any agenda other than on behalf of a successful outcome. And you're willing to sacrifice your own perspective so that others in the group can find their own voice. A group meditation that focuses on cohesion may be a valuable shared experience today. And today, let's see, I'm going to make sure here on the 8th that I changed that. Yeah, that's neutral. Favorability of work in magic today for those magically inclined individuals is neutral. So there's not going to be any astrological stuff that comes in or anything that's really going to, or elemental stuff that's going to come in and impact that. It's really your own energy working today. let's see, the magical focus given that Jupiter governs Thursday is social justice, healing, abundance, income, growth, and achieving goals. Let's see, lunar phase is waning. Technically now we're in the waning phase, even though it's still full. So magics of decrease. And then we're still, of course, in the full, the actual full phase where relationships are important in your life. And again, you know, I think that does dovetail pretty well with the esoteric influences, you know, especially if you're in a leadership role with people. It's an interesting thing, you know, you kind of have to get out of the way of yourself sometimes when you're the leader of something, and not really force your own view, especially if you're trying to do something collaborative with other people today. So make sure that their voices are respected and heard, and you know, sort of be the one that manages all of it instead of, you know, and if you have to assert yourself, that's fine, because sometimes people get off track, but still do it in a way that is respectful, and you'll probably get a lot further than trying to control everything. You know, I mean, unless everything is just, you know, going to, you know, hell in a handbasket, basically. I don't know, do what you got to do. Today's rune for the reading is from the Elder Futhark is Kenaz. Kenaz you'll find in a lot of the different runes. When I tend to look at runes, I look at what other runes can I see within them. And Kenaz you'll find in all of them. Well, not all of them, but many of them. You won't find it in Isa, for example. but at the same time, you could say you find Isa twice in this. It's just sort of, you know, going in a skewed direction there. But you're looking at the torch or the light of spirit. You're looking at clarity, and so there's a bit of the fire element in it. But clearly, what it's saying is, or is suggesting, but we'll know more when we do the geomancy rune here. But it's suggesting that maybe you either are going to have more clarity today, or you need to step back and make sure you have it. And so take the time to understand the overall picture. I think Pallas is in retrograde right now, and Pallas is one of the little asteroid bodies or whatever that is saying, basically talks about strategy and about understanding the overall picture before doing things. And with it in retrograde, that's sort of an inner type of thing. Sometimes we jump to conclusions and we assume things that aren't, when we really don't know, you know, it feels like it, and based on maybe other behavior, you think that, you know, but doesn't necessarily mean that's what it is. And so again, getting a different perspective and developing a different strategy about how you see things helps bring clarity. So that's another influence that's happening today astrologically. But I ended up creating here, when I threw down the 4 elemental geomancy runes, conjunctio. Looks like a little hourglass. And conjunctio is about union and joining. And again, with today's daily forecast, you know, you're kind of looking at, it's a collaborative experience, you know, and if you are the person in the leadership role, that's going to be an interesting, rather than, again, trying to control the whole situation, bring light to it. And so that would be the Kenaz part of it. And with conjunctio, bringing light, bringing spiritual awareness to the collaborative efforts, or the unity, or the joining together or union together with other people, irrespective of what it is. It doesn't have to be in a work situation. It could be just in your own personal life, where, you know, maybe you're reconnecting with somebody or a group of somebodies. Maybe you're getting together with family or whatever, and you have to bring light and clarity to that experience. Otherwise, you know, sometimes it can just get weird. And you know about that. We've all had that happen in our lives, I'm sure. Even in the best of circumstances, it can happen. So let's go ahead and shuffle just a little bit more. We had a little bit of a commotion last night in the boys' run, and they both seem fine, but I know one of them came out of their house. One of the roosters came out of their house and was running back behind the bedroom, because the run goes behind the bedroom, and And I think he was out over probably by the gate, the entrance gate to their little area. It's just right adjacent to the girls, but the girls aren't going to come out. They're up on roosts, and so the boys are too, but they're just not that high up off the ground. So something could have gotten in the pen or into their little house last night and caused one of them to run. Probably the one that got attacked before. He's doing pretty well. He had the most beautiful comb though, and wattles, and I don't know. My husband hasn't told me yet. I can't bear to look at him. But the comb is ruined, and you know, Rhode Island Reds, they're like that though. They've got beautiful combs when even with the girls, but the boys, they just have really shiny feathers, and they're just a really pretty bird. And it's awful when something happens like that, you know, but it is what it is. It's, you know, we live on 5 acres, and I don't know, things happen when you're, you know, living where we do. Well, now last time we had a run on swords. Now we have a run on pentacles. And so before it was the air element, now it's the earth element. And when you think about the earth element, you think about grounding, and you think about home, hearth, structure, foundation. But again, feeling grounded. So with Kenaz and Conjunctio here, we're going to bring light to the relationships that we have, the joining together that we have. But we start with the King of Pentacles. We see a king. Of all the kings, I probably like him the best. I'm not a fan of the kings. You see his kingdom is behind him. He's sort of surrounded and covered in all of his abundance. You see, oh gosh, it looks like, I think that these are pomegranates on his robe. There could be some other things. It could be strawberries too. I'm not, oh no, those aren't, well, they could be peppers, but they shouldn't be, not with earth. Pentacles is governed by earth. And so I don't think that they're probably strawberries. And then these look like pomegranates. So these would be the strawberries. These would be the pomegranates, I would think. But you see the well, I mean, I don't know if they're rams or if they're probably, but I wouldn't think so. These look more like steers, because you would think, you know, with farming and all that, you would think, yeah, I don't think these are ram's heads. I think these are steers. They look a little bit different because you can see the horns are a little bit different. But you're still looking at, if you're looking at steers, you're looking at strength. You're looking at a successful older man in authority. He's concerned with his legacy. He can be fearful. He can be steadfast. He can be responsible. Sometimes though, he's pretty focused on his own stuff. But at the same time, you know, it's not as ornate as you might think with the king. So it's possible that he's just sitting there in protection. That would be another word to use with the King of Pentacles, in protection of the kingdom. So of the 4 kings, I would say that this particular king I view in probably a little more positive way. Are those poppies on his throne? Or not his throne, on his crown? That looks like poppies. That doesn't look like roses. But it could be roses. I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's kind of a messy card, isn't it? But he's just surrounded with all of his abundance, basically. With pentacles, you think abundance. But here you have a lack thereof. So depending upon maybe the king can't be bothered, you know, I don't know. Someone in authority can't be bothered here. You have 2 people walking in the snow. This one here has got a boot on, but his foot is bandaged here. These either walking barefooted or walking with socks on maybe, but I've always interpreted it as bare feet, but I don't know. It almost looks like the front foot is bandaged in a way. You see that? You see how it looks bandaged? So she could be, if this is a woman, she could be, and it looks like it is, she could be walking barefoot in the snow. They're leaning forward. He's on crutches, as you can see. They appear to be walking by a church. Now, it could be that they don't realize that there's help inside, or perhaps nobody wants to help them. It just kind of depends on the rest of the cards, and I don't think with the King of Pentacles we can really know. It's possible that help's available, but they just haven't walked in the church yet to get it. But instead, with the 5, we're looking at a change in circumstances. And here, we're looking at destitution. So they've lost their home, maybe, and they, in various... maybe something tragic has happened, maybe a fire has happened, or maybe there was some kind of accident or something, but they're clearly not in a good place in their life at this moment. Again, 5 is about change, it's about protection, it's about the pentagram, about momentum and movement, but at the same time, I think that they're not benefiting from the abundance in their lives. Something is drastically changed in their lives. And it feels like I need to take a 4th card because I don't feel like I know what happens next. I don't think this is what happens next. I think something else happens in between. Or there's got to be some explanation for what happened here, because the 2 cards are very, very different. The scenes in them are very, very different. Here you have somebody who's diligently working on their craft, building their wealth, building their reputation, building their business, if you will. You see a home in the background here, and the man is diligently working on his craft. And preparing for the future, or maybe this is a job he's doing for somebody. So whatever's happened here, if we're going to link the 2 together, see, there's got to be something in the middle where something happened that gave these people a little more reliability in their life, a little more structure, a little more, well, maybe got them a home. So let's go ahead and just shuffle a little bit and take one more card. But it just feels like there's a piece missing here. And maybe it won't go there between the 5 and the 8. Let's see, 13, that's 4. So we're looking at, it's a 4 numerology. There's no number for the king or anybody in the court. Although if there was, it'd be 14, and wouldn't see 10, 11, or no, yeah, 11, 12, 13, yeah, it'd be 14. And so again, you're looking at well, that'd be 5, that'd be change, that would align with the 5 of Pentacles. But maybe they had it all. Maybe they had success in their lives, and maybe we could look at the king that way instead of an individual. Maybe we could look at they had a bunch of abundance in their lives, and then something happened to take that away. But hopefully this card will tell us just exactly what that is. I'm going to take the 13th one. I always take the 13th one when I take another card, or if I'm going to do something randomly. I was born on the 13th, and 13 figures prominently in my life. I was ill for 13 years. I just things seem to come in 13s for me, so that's why I do that. Well, here we have the Hierophant. Now this is about divine mastery and a teacher. You could look at it that way. So maybe there was something, in fact, behind. Maybe they ended up going in and receiving inside the church and receiving some kind of guidance and wisdom from the Hierophant, from the priest, because the priest showed some mercy on them. Maybe they have more awareness and knowledge than they know. You've got the idea of hidden knowledge. You see the keys down here. That describes hidden knowledge and tradition, basically. But again, one of the things that the king is concerned about with his legacy, it doesn't appear like they have much of one at this point. So maybe they do go inside. the church, and they receive some guidance. They were free. They are able to at least have a place where they're out of the elements and someone is protecting them. Maybe they're given some food, and they're able to regroup and figure out what they're going to do. And maybe at this point they just start rebuilding their lives. Maybe this is really more about rebuilding their lives. And so it just seems to me that maybe there's something going on in your life right now where you need to come together with other people and seek out the comfort of that, that collaboration or that support from other people. Something has happened, and you've had a tremendous change in circumstances. Again, maybe something happened to your home and you have no way to live there now. You seek a higher counsel, basically. And it doesn't have to be a spiritual counsel. It could be, like it is with the Hierophant. But maybe what this is you're able to find someone who can get you back on the right track. Maybe give you a job or get you to a position where you can now take care of yourself again. Sometimes that happens. You have these severe hurricanes that come and destroy areas, and people don't know what to do. Their homes are gone, and they need to have support from the community or from the federal government or what have you, to try to at least stay afloat, to have a place to live, food to eat, and all of that till they can get back into some kind of home for themselves. And it just seems to me that with the fives, it's just a very significant change has happened from the abundance found with the King of Pentacles, where everything was in its place, everything was comfortable, and then all of a sudden you're outside your comfort zone now. And you're really dealing with the elements, inclement weather, having injuries, and maybe you don't see the help that's there, but then somehow you find it. And whether again it's spiritual or it's somebody that help give you a leg up, maybe hire you or help you figure out a way to find another home and all of that, to get all of whatever's gone on, to deal with those things. And so whether it's going to a local agency or whatever, there's somebody with some other information that you don't have, that they're going to give that to you, and you're going to be able to make some better decisions here to move forward and to get out of whatever's happened here, because clearly something's changed. So whether you seek out someone who's your minister or your priest or your rabbi or whoever, or your imam, whoever you or your mullah, not your imam but your mullah, whoever your spiritual leader is in your life, maybe you go and you talk to that person, and they have some ability to help and point you in the right direction, so that then you can regroup and get out of the situation that you're in. So if this is happening for anyone listening, or someone it does seem to suggest that talking to someone who knows a little more than you do about the situation, who can guide you, whoever that person is for you, may be the solution to the problem, so that you can then get back to business, essentially, and get your home back in order and get things back, flowing in the direction it's supposed to be going. Because it just seems like something significant happened here. We can do one more card and see if we can get anything at all on what that might have been. But, sometimes, I'm reminded of all the Twitter employees that have lost their jobs. You've got a lot of other big corporations. Amazon is what was it, 10,000 people they laid off. I mean, you're talking about a lot of people right before Christmas. And it always seems to be this way, isn't it? But you've got this, and whether it's a fiscal thing, if their fiscal new year is the first of the year or something like that, then you have, you know, maybe you do make your changes then in business, but I've never understood it. It just seems like it's cruel and heartless, you know, when people have to go through something like this during the winter months of all time, when it's just, especially if you live where we do, where you've got snow on the ground, it's like, oh really, I have to leave now, I have to leave my home and try to find something else. It's that kind of thing. It's like insult to injury is what it feels like to me. It always has. And so but something's happened here, and I just like a little more clarity about it. But the idea of Kenaz and Conjunctio, it's stressing the idea of coming together to figure it out, to bring light to a situation. And here we have, well, I'm not sure this is going to give us what we need, but maybe. Here's the Eight of Cups. Now here we have a scene where are there 8? No, there's 8 cups here, but it almost looks like, you know, there should be another one here. To bring endings to something. And maybe he's providing that. Maybe he's providing that last 9th cup that's not part of this. But it's at nighttime, and he's there by the water's edge. He's crossed a little, just a little tiny, like a little tiny stream of water, it looks like, right here. But you see the craggy rocks here out in the water. You can also see here, if you look, you've got little tiny rocks or little tiny boulders, really, kind of in the way. Now the Eight of Cups I generally interpret as he's letting go of emotions that no longer serve, and he's gotten all that he needs, and he's prepared for the future, no matter how challenging it might be. You can see he's kind of walking uphill a little bit. And so there's going to be some challenges here. It's not that he's not aware of that, but it almost looks like, from the way his hair is, that he might be glancing upward at the moon. So there's mystery, there's the unknown, there's the subconscious realm that we are thinking about here as well. And again, maybe this was just something they didn't see coming. Maybe there's some things that need to happen where they need to put things into perspective. So again, I don't think that this card is giving us what we need to know about the 5. I really don't. But it's interesting that you've got the 5th card of the Major Arcana and Mastery contained in both, and there's 13 there. And then you have 13 here. You see 8 and 5 again. So that's kind of an interesting parallel. That's an interesting pattern, where something has changed, and you need to let go of some things. You need to let go of your attachments. You need to move forward irrespective of the challenge. Maybe you get some counseling of some kind, some wise mentor or mentorship or a counselor of some kind comes in and talks to you about what you need to, about how to plan your future. But it does show that there's a positive outcome here, that things kind of get back to normal. You're rebuilding things. And so it's not like you're going to stay in this position forever. And again, you know, if you don't think of it in terms of specifics, you know, maybe there's just something where you've gotten off track and you've been a little too focused on things that don't matter, and suddenly things upend themselves, and it forces you to take a look at how you structure your life. And are you prepared for the future, or have you been, you know, just not really paying attention to planning for the future or saving money or what have you? And so maybe there's just an element of, I'm going to have to rethink things and how I see things emotionally, because so much of that, even though we think it's intellectual based, it's not. It's all based on emotion. And all of that impacts the decisions that you make, how you see things emotionally, what feeds your emotions, what supports your emotions, how do you manage them. And are you willing to consider that there could be some other ways of seeing things? Again, in full clarity with Kenaz, and then coming together, finding some kind of unity with something else, where you go to somebody for advice or maybe some spiritual counsel. I mean, maybe this is exactly what they're talking about. Maybe spiritual counsel is what you're lacking. And you know, you're letting go of things, but it's like, what am I replacing them with? So whether this was something where you lost your home or your job or not, you know, maybe it's more about, how do you see your abundance? How do you see your family structure, your home, your just your life in general, that whole foundational energy? Because again, you know, 8 and 5 is 13. That reduces to 4 on both ends of this, and so you're looking at 4 being the structure of this, and then if you add them together, you've got 8. And which is, you know, aligns with today's date in terms of leadership and talent and material recognition and approval. Maybe you've just gotten too comfortable, and because that's the other one of the negative sides of the King of Pentacles. He can just become too comfortable in what he sees, you know, in his life and how he sees all of that, and something happens to shake it up. You're going to have to rethink things and let go of emotions that don't really serve you, and reactions that don't really serve you, and find some way to get some enlightenment here, and that way you can get back to business and rebuilding your life, or continuing on with how you're really maybe there was some complacency here that just came into my head, and you have to have a little more due diligence about your job and your physical and material security. So several ways to kind of look at this, but I have a funny feeling that the King of Pentacles, it's really about becoming complacent in your life and not really planning for the future. And if something were to happen, or maybe something has happened and now you're having to rethink things, you know, to see how you feel about things. And maybe a lot of the choices you've been making have to do with more of an emotional type of a decision than more a reasoned one or intellectual one, or being able to look at the facts and say, well, okay, we can't afford to go out to eat every night. We have to be able to pay the rent, we have to pay the house payment, or what, we have all these bills, right? We have these responsibilities, and so we can't go out to eat every single night. I mean, who does now anyway? But I mean, we don't. But I mean, people do, you know. But we're still, as far as we're concerned, that's just off the table until COVID is off the table. But maybe there's just some planning that you need to do a little bit differently, and it's not about what I want at the moment, but it's about what I need to plan for the rest of the month. And maybe there's a little bit of, I know astrologically there's been some issues, I forget which one it's with, maybe it's with Saturn, Saturn's placement of late, where it seems like people are having to reconsider, at least with a partner, how they spend their money. And where does that come from? You know, does it come from childhood? I know with my mother, she was what's called a depression baby. And I know my husband's adoptive stepfather was a depression baby too. They grew up during the Depression, and that changed people. It either made you really miserly with your money, or you spent it because you had such a difficult moment, where I know there was a point at which my grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother and her sister were living in this very, very small shack-like home during the Depression. And after that, of course, you know, that's not, you know, they moved to a regular home. But at the time, people lost everything, you know. And when you go through something like that, and this kind of feels like that, where maybe you're losing something or something is changing, you know, your life never looks the same. And for some people, there was an impact to them, and it seemed to be on one end of or the other end of the spectrum. So it seems to me that the Saturn issue right now, because I'm pretty sure it's Saturn, it has to do with possessions and resources, and maybe, there's an emotional component to that. It's like emotional eating or emotional shopping. You don't have very good boundaries about thinking about, okay, if I spend this money now, I'm not going to be able to pay the rent. But some people just don't think about that. They want what they want it now, and if things fall apart, they don't even, it doesn't even occur to them, right, to think about that. And if you have a family, if you have children, well, that's even worse, right? So there just seems to be maybe something here about complacency, and then either something has happened or you've got to start thinking about if it could. And what are you going to have to let go of? What are you going to have to put in order and then, move on from? What emotions are putting you there? What resistance to change could there be that you need to rethink? Because it seems like in the Eight of Cups, in a sense, he's embracing change. And he's moving on, and irrespective of the challenges. And so he knows they're there, and then maybe he's willing to see to talk to somebody that either that's a spiritual guide for them, or maybe just somebody that he knows that can help out, or it could be like someone in business, like an attorney or an agency or something like that can give him advice as to where to go and how to manage all that. And then get back on track to where there's a more active presence in creating the life that you want to have. With the king, he's just sitting there. This guy's actually doing something. And so maybe that's on either end of the spectrum. Are you just going to sit there, or are you going to do something? Are you going to examine your life in a way to know what the right choice is? If you don't know what that is, are you going to go seek counsel of some kind, and then get back on track? So that seems to be the flow of this. With Kenaz, you do that in full clarity. Again, perhaps in alignment with other people with conjunctio. Getting on the same page, with the astrological stuff, if it involves a partner where maybe the partner is a bit, it doesn't just spends, or maybe you do. There's some kind of conflict going on. There has to be some kind of understanding and mutual, reciprocity and all of that, for everybody to get on the same page and in an alignment, so that you can then proceed on together in a way that makes better sense and creates more material and financial security for yourself. So a lot of different stuff coming in here on this reading, but I think that that's happening right now, astrologically. And Saturn is the planet that it's like the dweller on the threshold. It slows everything down, and it really, Saturn was in retrograde for quite some time. It isn't now. And a lot of inward, examination about how you do things and how you see things and the way you proceed in life and all of that. Saturn just makes everything, it causes delays, it causes, everybody struggles against it instead of dropping resistance and saying, okay, what's this telling me? And so I think that we could have a lot of different issues right now in this reading. That could be coming into play, different factors that be coming into play. But maybe it does come down to complacency versus due diligence, and somewhere along the way, there's all these things that can occur along that continuum of experience that, if you're not on top of it, if you're not looking at it in full clarity and in unity with other people that might be involved, if you're not all on the same page, it can be really, it can be dicey. So a lot of, stuff you're not really expecting could happen, and you've got to be prepared to deal with it. And complacency of the King of Pentacles isn't going to get you there. So anyway, interesting reading. I haven't done a 5-card reading in a while, so I almost took a 6th. Ooh. Anyway, thanks for watching. And again, you know, if you've got a snow deluge coming, then I'm with you. We don't know yet what that's going to look like. Sometimes, you know, you see those massive numbers and it's really just up in the mountains, but we're at 3,000 feet above sea level. We're in the freaking mountains, you know, well, high desert, but still we're at that level where, you know, you go over Mount Hood and, you know, you're up a little higher when you're at the summit, but not by much, you know, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. And usually that kind of stuff happens south of us, but we'll see. Depends on which way the wind's blowing in. If it's coming in from the north, then oh boy, that's not fun. We get it then, and we get a lot of snow that gets dumped. So, and I haven't looked to see the direction of the winds, so we'll see. Anyway, I just know it's windy out there. Lots of trees blowing around. I'm like, oh, geez. So, have a good weekend, and come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Check out the new version of the Esoteric Influences for the week. It's going to go up. It posts on Sunday, and like around like 12:10 a.m. or something. I have stuff posting, and so it'll be there when you wake up in the morning, and check it out and see what you think, and see if you like the way it flows. I don't know. I wasn't happy with those two. I wanted to do something different, and I'm trying this. So we'll see. It feels somewhat comfortable to me, though. So we'll see if it feels more. If not, you know, life's about change. So have a good weekend, and be good to yourself. Be good to one another, and blessed be.